find where the shadows and lights and darks go. So to make this look a little bit more three-dimensional, I'm just going to go ahead and pop a shadow here. I'm just going to make up a shape that kind of goes along with this shoulder muscle. Same thing here. I'm going to do the same thing, kind of making up a shape as I go. And then here, we'll just keep it very minimal. And then even behind here and here. Now I'm just making shapes up as I go along. And since we're closer to the light here, I don't want to do too much black, so I'll save the black for here. So just to remind myself, I'll put a little X here, X, 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 X. Then here will be X, and let's see, one here, X, maybe even here. Now I'm keeping the outer layer, or the outer edge here, even though it's further away from the light, I'm keeping the darks kind of away from the edge, because the reason I'm doing that is because this is metallic. And with metallic, you want to have a sheen. So you don't want to go all the way to the edge with your blacks. You want to keep it kind of in the center. And I'll show you what I mean here in a moment. Okay, more X's. Now we'll do a couple, like almost like a D shape here, or a triangular shape. And I think that's a good start. Trying to see if there's anywhere else I could put one. Maybe just throw one here, a little X. And if it's wrong, and if you don't like it ultimately, you can, break out your handy eraser and go ahead and clean it up and fix it. So with that said, now what I'm going to do is just start shading these in. There's no magic to shading. What we're trying to do is just fill these in as if they are blacks. Now, one thing I do recommend is just going in the same direction and keeping the pencil moving in the same direction, just for good practice. So you see, I'm just basically going at a diagonal. And this just keeps your lines and your shading kind of clean. Ultimately, if you have an inker, this doesn't matter because all this would be covered in black ink anyway. But it's just more, again, aesthetic and more appealing to the eye, I think. Okay, so we're still shading this in. You can make up, as you're going, you can think to yourself, well, how would this look if I put another one here? You can darken this line and start darkening some more. There's really no right or wrong. It's, like I always say, consistency and believability. Now, I will go ahead and put another shape here. I think this is fine for now. Maybe just almost like a splotch here, like a splash of black. And then, we can also do some details closer to the knuckles. Just shade in a little bit just to define where the fingers would go. Okay. Now what we'll do is we'll start doing kind of like a Colossus type thing. This is kind of the standard for comics. So basically you want to think of, you're thinking in 3 dimensions, right? So you want to think of curves and planes. You want to have your lines going along the shapes. So I'm going to start from the top, and I'm just going to draw a line here, and which kind of goes around this front part of the deltoid, which is a shoulder muscle. And then I'm going to put it like this. And then I'm going to do the same thing on this back part. Now I probably could have curved up, and we might change that later. I'm just going to curve like this now. And now what I'm going to do is, this is the biceps, so I want to make this kind of pop out a little bit. So I'm going to kind of curve like this. I'm going to keep it, because what we're trying to do is we're trying to look for a shape here that pops out and protrudes towards the camera in a way. We're creating mass. And then from here, I'm just going to blow this out. Same thing here. And then I'm just going to wrap it around the arm. I almost feel like I can blow it up this way. And these are things that you'll experiment with. Then we'll do the same thing on the arm here. So what I'm doing is I'm just going along these muscles here and just kind of making them look more round and more like tubes. All right, so we're getting there. And then we have this area here that's kind of, arbitrary right in the middle. So I'm just going to create more lines going this way. And I'm just going to draw a few lines here. Now you can get creative and you can draw, add more lines anywhere you'd like. So if you want to have more lines going around the fingers like this, not the actual fingers, but kind of like the bones that go towards the finger. Okay, so now we have that. And then at this point, we can just start adding more sheen. And so what I like to do is pop up just a fine line, and I stop before I reach, these lines here, they're just for effect, and they don't connect or touch any of the horizontal lines. They're just completely vertical. Just keep doing that. Do that over here too. And we'll do some in the back as well. Again, we're not going too close to the edge, and we're not touching any of the horizontal lines. So at this point, we can even go further, and we can kind of take this thumb here, just put some lines like a webbing here, do more circular ring motions, and then do the same thing with the knuckles. Now the tips of these knuckles, I'm just going to shade them in black. Now, these little fine areas here, I'm just going to add a few more black streaks. Now, you can find different methods to do this. There's no just, one way fits all. Be creative, have fun. That's really what it all comes down to. So here we have some more opportunities to put in some blotches, and then we could even double up on these lines. So if you look at comic books, you'll see that there's usually a double up or a line underneath the main line, just signifying a little bit of space. It's a pretty cool thing to do, and it's just for effect. Remember, half of your job as being a comic book artist or an illustrator is creating effects. You're creating aesthetics. They're appealing to the eye, and you're trying to be consistent so that it all works. So we have pretty much a metallic arm here. What I might do here is add a little bit more shade. Circular motion, and being careful not to touch anything. Now you could touch if you wanted to. Personally, I just like to keep things separated so that the eye puts, the mind's eye, which is kind of like your subconscious mind, it will actually put everything together for you. So that's one of the tricks as an artist that you'll hear me mention a lot as well, is leave some for the imagination. So if you don't want to finish a complete line or connect all the dots, it's okay. We're intelligent creatures, and we can put things together ourselves automatically without even thinking about it. So I'm just going to bulk this up a little bit. Now, if you wanted to add a little bit more shine or sheen, you can. You can go through and you can erase, clean up some lines here. And what this would do is it creates that more of an illusion. You can even just do like a zing, across here. And you can draw in, and I'll show you what we can do with that in a little bit here. You can even thin out these lines that are closer to the light and keep these back here thicker. And then what we can do is we can get into some more tricks, like, okay, so now that we have this outlined, we'll keep this thin. Connect it here. We'll leave this open. We just kind of, and then we'll do one more for the sake of consistency. Do it right here. So they got this line here, and then we're going to leave a little gap open. Now these are just little tricks. You don't have to use them. They might look a little gimmicky. It's really up to you. Study comic books. Find your range, find what feels best to you, and just go with it. Okay, so now what we're going to do is jump onto the other arm. And I hope that this helps you understand a little bit about creating like a metal sheen. Now, if you want to get really crazy, you can do a little cross-hatching, but I find with metallic, any type of metallic texture, less lines is better. Now you could experiment. You can go like this and do like little zigzags here. You could probably make it look pretty cool if you really wanted to. It might be a little time consuming. But what I'm doing here is I'm just doing these little jagged lines that are going towards the light, right? And that's just another indication of light touching an object. Now we didn't put too much shadow here. Now if I really want to get very complex, I can go ahead and cast more shadow here, make this whole area dark. You can get more gritty than this. What I'm doing is for the sake of showing you, I'm just trying to keep it very clean and almost simplified. But I feel like if you learn these basics, you can start testing yourself and your own skills and experimenting and just learning on your own. You might even come up with your own methods. Now what I'll do is I'll probably just scan this in high resolution and include it for you to use as reference while you watch this video. So